Okay, thank you very much. We have a lot of things happening, as you know.
An anonymous image board poster is in fact a top-level official within the Trump administration who may or may not be President Trump himself that's cryptically leaking classified intelligence in order to bring into being the destruction of a global conspiracy of powerful, highly connected politicians, celebrities, business leaders, and members of the shadow government. This is the story of the QAnon.
I think it's a disgrace that information that was false and fake and never happened got released to the public.
Despite being an anonymous poster on an obscure image board, Q managed to gain a sizable and devout following of people who were willing to support the notion that QAnon was a credible source of intelligence. One of those people was Jerome Corsi.
This is a battle of classic and heroic proportions, which is going to be waged in an intelligence front, and the average American person would be unaware of it had there not been an entity like QAnon who would come forward from a knowledgeable position to start dropping the clues, the breadcrumbs, as he says, that will lead people to the research they need to do and the understanding they need to achieve to see how our intelligence agencies, our justice system, the FBI have been corrupted, the IRS, and how dangerous this is. We're at a thread. The republic is hanging by a thread, and it's now going to be Donald Trump's unique opportunity to save it. I don't think there's anybody better that I can think of in the political landscape to be on the scene than Donald Trump. I've known him for 40 years and have complete confidence in him.
Jerome Corsi is 71 years old, and believe it or not, Corsi has spent a considerable amount of time lurking on 8chan, attempting to decipher the words of Q. But why would he be investing so much of his rapidly depleting time on this earth, his life force, into studying the words of a random poster on a random image board?
5 different Pentagon sources, high level, that whole 8chan thing is real, and that they're basically forecasting what they'd like to see happen and giving you information. But so that's definitely real, and that's why Corsi's been, I'll let you know because the enemy knows, the White House directly asked Corsi to be on the 8chan beat a month ago. So, but that's directly from the White House.
What convinced Corsi that Q was credible? Well, it was a photo that Corsi had seen Q post which confirmed to him very close ties to Trump. According to Corsi, the photo depicted a pen resting on President Trump's desk at Camp David.
That's the Laurel desk that's in the, it's the one that Obama used, and apparently Trump is also using at Camp David. That's the desktop at Camp David.
Awesome. The one I really want to go into
and by the way, the pen is a Mont Blanc ink pen that Trump has used for a long time. And so when QAnon, in its post 8159 on Saturday, said, he showed a picture of the pen and the desk, says, look familiar, note the desk. Where is this, everyone? And it's the weekend. God bless Q. Well, that's Camp David over the weekend, and that picture had to have been taken by somebody who was there with President Trump, his pen on the desk, and that pretty much authenticates that, again, QAnon is very close to Donald Trump and present at some of these really important inner circle White House meetings.
Would you like to see the photo? Brace yourselves. This, right here, is the photo that Q posted, which a 71-year-old man took to be irrefutable evidence that Trump was posting on 8chan. Now, you don't have to be Sherlock Holmes to realize that perhaps a great flight of fantasy is being embarked upon here. But remember this pen, because it's going to come back later. Nevertheless, support for Q's credibility grew, and it wasn't just restricted to Corsi. More and more people were flocking to an image board to decipher the posts of the QAnon.
Let me make this, first of all, unequivocally clear, limpid, pellucid. I want to add clarity, no ambiguity. Listen and listen good. I stand with Q. I stand with the Anons. I stand with these brilliant decoders who are
the Q phenomenon.
So let's now get into the questions. Q's questions, right? Let's first discuss what exactly this QAnon is, what these posts are that I referred to.
I want to make it clear that the Q movement has been extremely important because Q has at least brought in, really literally millions of people into examining these issues.
And then Q delivered a warning. He heralded that his codebreakers prepare themselves for the mother of all bombs. But when nothing happened, the faith in Q started to be tested.
So we've got plenty of people in here who don't like attacking Q. Look, I'm going to attack Q when Q's wrong. I'm sorry. Q doesn't like it. Tough.
And then Q posted this. Be careful who you are following. Some are profiting off this movement. Some are building a big following off this movement, only then to retreat and go mainstream. Patriots make sacrifices. Some, the ultimate sacrifice. Patriots are selfless. Do they ask for monthly payments to remain patriots? Think logically. Corsi interpreted this post as an attack, specifically upon himself.
Likes it or not, I'm resolved now to raise more money for the movement, more resolved than I've ever been, and create some structures in which we can go to war. And if Q doesn't like it, not my problem. I was in this battle way before Q, and I'll probably be in this battle longer after Q.
Following Corsi's break from the QAnon church, he went back to that photo of the pen. He thought about it and decided that it proved nothing, and it was easily misinterpreted. But Corsi's U-turn didn't just end there. He spoke to Alex Jones, declaring that the posts allegedly authored by the QAnon were actually part of a deep state psyop. And Jones himself even claimed to have personally spoken with Q, learning that the account had been compromised and shouldn't be trusted any longer.
And Dr. Corsi's written 3 #1 New York Times bestsellers. He's changed elections. He's got amazing sources. He got told by the White House 6 months ago, hey, we like QAnon. But now that's not the case. And so I was on the phone this morning and talked to some folks who are out playing golf with people that have been involved in QAnon. They say, hey, that's been taken over. We're unable to even post anymore. That's not us anymore. And then Corsi was right on the same line 2 days ago in private conversations we had saying, hey, it's been compromised. Then didn't even talk about it on air. Then I was separately told this by QAnon. So I'm going to say again, I've talked to QAnon.
This is a now completely compromised source. The psyop that took over QAnon, and I see now, I think there's signs of NASA being involved at this point. But the board, the 8chan board has now been overrun with, I think, increasingly CIA operatives posing as trolls, posing disinformation. Certainly, the attack I've gotten in the last 48 hours after saying that QAnon was compromised on my Twitter feed and my emails have just been obviously hate-generated psyop operations.
Right. This isn't just a few kids with hot pockets in their mother's basement playing video games. This is them taking control of the symbol of QAnon and now weaponizing it.
The fallout from this was massive. The believers of Q labelled Jones and Corsi false prophets, there to shill their books and sell their water filters. Questions began to be asked. Who was really compromised? Who was really controlled opposition? The people critical of Q had always decried, why would the president talk to people on 8chan? Only to be met by the response that Trump isn't your typical president. Maybe he realized that great changes involve truth and freedom, and they start at the grassroots level. Maybe that's why QAnon chose the image board, because he needed to stay under the radar, but also because he could spread the word to a younger generation of puzzle solvers who could decipher and archive everything that they encounter. Eventually they'd break the code and America would be great again. At least that was how it was supposed to happen. What actually occurred was that a legion of baby boomers, Corsi included, flocked to an image board and shitposted alongside their autistic grandsons in order to decipher the truth. But what is the truth? Really? Who or what is the QAnon? Is he really Trump? Or one of his sons? Or perhaps Q stands for Queen, as in Melania. Or perhaps Q isn't anybody at all. Perhaps Q is an experiment, an artificial intelligence, a bot, an algorithm that auto-generates its text, posts to 8chan, and waits to see how things will play out. An experiment being used by the American government to measure how those on the fringes of society join the dots that aren't there in order to peddle a narrative that simply was the result of a random text generator.